Regarding the franchise model, you mentioned that you decided to go not do the franchise model and open your own boba store. Were you confident in your skills? Were you afraid of the risk? Like what made you decide to open your own store instead of buying into a franchise?
Yeah, so the thing about franchise is the fact that they have its own brand already, and you don't have to spend the money on brand awareness, building that awareness within your community. The problem is, I would say of 100 franchises, probably only like 10 to 20 franchises are actually worth it. And that's just because they charge you an upfront cost about 50 to 100 grand, right? Just to give them the license for you to run, and also the training that's involved. Also, you always have to buy products from them. They're involved in the marketing, and on top of that, they'll charge you 5 to 15% of your revenues, right? Not just your profit, your revenue. So to me, it didn't make any sense. Of the franchise milk tea brands, I would only franchise probably like 2 that I have in mind, and everyone else I think is a waste of time and money, in my opinion, my personal opinion. I'm not going to call out brands, but I've seen a lot of brands kind of reach their peak and then kind of get stale, and then they're not really doing much for their franchisors in terms of making their money worth. To me, that was a big thing in terms of the milk tea landscape of what the franchise options were, and then also I just like being able to be in control of the marketing and the product development.
Yeah, that's fair. So you pretty much have full responsibility, full control of it. And then can you tell us more about Boba Republic? It sounds like you're very passionate about doing your own thing and making your own mark. So what makes Boba Republic different, or actually how did you guys even come up with that name?
There's no special story about the name, Boba Republic, which is
sounds cool.
Yeah, it was a good looking name in my opinion. Our logo is a cute bear. The biggest thing for us is when I looked into the milk tea industry, especially in the DFW area, and also when I was doing my research in the Houston area, it was all franchises. It was nothing that stood out. Nobody that was kind of really advertising themselves in a way that I'd like to see a boba shop, because I think milk tea is becoming very common. Growing up, I didn't really go to milk tea cafes, but because of the school that I went to. But now you see on every day, like any type of school with any type of demographic, you'll see milk tea becoming more of a common theme. So there's a growing demand, but I believe there was a lack of supply of like cool places to actually capitalize on that. So that's kind of one of our goals, was to provide a place for kids and adults to go to, kind of like a Starbucks, have the same consistency in products.
With my experience with milk tea is I was born and raised in San Jose, California, then moved to Fremont, California. So during that time in the 2000s, milk tea just became a thing. They're like, oh, there's this thing where it's like tea, but then there's boba, and it's like you use a big straw. So it's like brand new. And then from California, I moved to Oklahoma back in 2005. So milk tea was just like off my mind, It wasn't until I went to college, and then even now, like there's like I would say like a resurgence, like a renaissance era of milk tea, where there's like 20,000 different, not just drinks, but so many different franchises and companies and concepts. There's like cheese on it. There's like pretty much anything you can think of. With that being said, I mean, what makes Boba Republic different?
So in terms of our product itself, we actually have a tea pressing machine, which is pretty rare. We actually brew the tea right there. So the tea leaves are brewed not all in the morning, but they're all brewed together. Maybe a couple hours before you might come in, or an hour before. So it makes the tea flavor a little bit stronger, because we're brewing the tea with the machine, and then more consistent as opposed to brewing it in a pot. The other factors, the other variables that we have is we actually have a wide range of products that kind of reaches our demographics, because our demographics is not specifically just Asian Americans. It's actually for Caucasians, African Americans, and Hispanics. So we'll have other products like smoothies and slushies, kind of bringing the like milk tea culture like kind of mainstream and making sure we're targeting everybody as much as possible.
The other thing I want to ask you is like, why not start in Houston, since you live in Houston?
Yeah, great question. I ask that. I ask that myself every day. It's because my 2 partners, originally we started with 3 folks, including myself, and now we have just 2 between me and Chris. The other 2 partners at that time lived in Dallas, and so the operating partner, he was based out of Dallas. So
got it.
And then when I did my research in Houston and Dallas markets, there were definitely areas in both cities that I really wanted to open, and I'm happy with the decision we made with Allen and Plano. Plano's a little bit more competitive. The opportunity in Plano just came along just because of someone selling the store, but the Allen, we thought it was a great market. There was not many boba stores at that time.
Yeah, I was sure you're going to just say that Dallas was better than Houston, but
no, I mean, I love Dallas because a lot of my good friends are from Dallas and moved to Dallas, but I have an Astros tattoo on my shoulder. I'm a big Houston person. I can never say Dallas is better than Houston.
Okay, yeah, not a problem. We're just trying, like I said, learn more about people and places in DFW, and eventually, if we expand the interview and the podcast process to Houston, then I'll be sure to hit you up to learn more about Houston spots.
Great, yeah, but Dallas is a great market. I'm a big proponent of Dallas because I think the city itself, if you look at the demographics, Dallas is number 1 or number 2 every single year in Texas in terms of migration from other states. And so you can just see the potential and the growth that Dallas has experienced, not just in house prices, but just in general, all the development that you're seeing around Dallas has been incredible in my opinion. So I really like Dallas. I'm a big fan.
With all your experience being a business owner and everything else you do, is there any tips you could leave the listener if they think about opening a boba shop or even even joining your team?
Yeah. So I think with boba shops, I feel like it is a sexy business. To be honest with you, I would probably have opened up another business knowing what I know now. I think
what should I open?
Something that's not sexy, I think, is the key here. Something that requires less work, something that you can automate, something that requires something that where you can pay your labor more than $15 an hour without breaking your P&L. So I think that's more important, just for long-term satisfaction, because you want to be able to have a great P&L, obviously, because you want to make money, but you also want to have a great team, right? And in order to have a great team at the end of the day, you have to be able to pay well. And so I think with the boba shop, there's so much risk because there's low barrier to entry. There's so many franchise that's advertising, and even a lot of boba stores who are doing poorly, they can still sell because there's so many other Asian individuals, Asian American professionals who want to buy these stores. So I just, in my opinion, if you're gung-ho about opening a boba store or buying a boba store, I would definitely spend 6 months looking at Buy Biz and Sell, one of those online markets for businesses. There's so many boba stores that's for sale. Go ahead and act like a buyer. Look at their P&L statements and just study it, right? Just study all the P&Ls that you can find. You'll see where the risks are. You'll see where the liability is, and then you can learn. And then maybe, potentially there's an opportunity for you to buy an existing store that is making money at a low price, and that's how I would go.
Yeah, sounds like sound business advice. Do your due diligence.
Yeah.
So you mentioned looking at the P&L, so profit and loss statement. So you want to see what's making money and what's costing money, right?
Correct. And then the biggest thing with P&Ls is you can always, not fudge, but you can always make it look great. I think the biggest thing you got to know also is the owner's, how much time is the owner spending and how much money the owner is receiving, right? So you want to take away the owner's salary. If the owner is taking in $5,000 a month from running the store, you want to take that away because you need to know that, hey, I need to spend $5,000 or a couple $1,000s for someone else to run it, unless you're willing to be that full-time operator, be there 40 to 80 hours a week. Okay. You want to make sure that number is good after taking away the owner's salary.
You mentioned franchises a couple times now. Are you anti-franchise?
No, I'm not. I'm actually, my next business ventures, I'm heavily considering franchise. I think with franchise, you got to fall in love with the brand, and I think this is the easy part. I think the second part is looking at data trends and making sure that the franchise is heading to the right markets. For example, Crumble would have been a great opportunity for many of us in the last few years. They were only one store before they started a franchise, and they were based out of Utah, and then now they have hundreds in all over the country. So you kind of find these the ones that's being very aggressive and growing really fast. Those are the type of franchise you want to get into because there's such a tailwind. So, for example, Crumble is a great company to research. What's the Orange Theory?
Orange Theory Fitness. Yep.
Orange Theory was a great one. Yep. So those are all type of franchise I would consider.
How about Boba Republic? Are they becoming a franchise?
So to franchise, you got to spend about $600,000 up front to kind of get all the legal and the licensing. I think right now we're not ready. I think right now we still have a lot of operations and product development.
But you guys keep in mind,
yeah,
if they're going to expand aggressively and fast, you guys want to jump in and be one of the originals of Boba Republic.
Yeah, I think for me it's I want to make sure I have a great product before I give that risk and liability to the franchisor, because at the end of the day, only a good franchise company is a company that cares about its franchisor, because the franchisors are the one that grows the business and the brand. So it's a two-way street, and I don't think we're there yet, admittedly. But one day,
fair enough. Yeah. And then most people, they don't care how much you know. They just want to know how much you care. So it's good, that even now, before you're a franchise or even thinking about it, you're looking ahead to see how you can support your employees and by extension, your future franchise managers. Good stuff, David.
Yep, thank you.
I think this is it for all my questions. Is there anything else you want to share?
No, no. I think, the DFW is great. I know I mentioned this earlier, and I think it's a great opportunity for business. But I would definitely say be careful of the increase in rent. Commercial properties in Dallas have steadily just raise their rent prices, and so you're going to see a lot of these old time stores and businesses like the local Chinese store. If that property gets bought by a large commercial property management company, they're going to raise the rent when their lease is up, right? That's how they make money. They buy properties, they kick out the tenants when their lease is up, and then they jack up the price.
So that's kind of like a gentrification, right?
Yeah, gentrification. I mean, it's just the nature of the business. That's how commercial people live, and so they raise the rents, right? Yeah. Because it's all about cap rate in terms of commercial valuation. So, I would just be careful. I know there's a new there's gonna be a new building that looks great. It's a great location, and if you're paying like $35 per square foot, and if this is your first business, they're gonna make you put a personal guarantee. So 5 years, 10 years, of your life, you gotta be that you're on the hook for that much rent. So I would say my biggest advice is just making sure you do your due diligence, study as many P&Ls as much as you can, so then you have a great idea of what you're getting into. Cool.
All right. Thank you, David. Thank you for your time. It was great having you here. I'm sure I'm going to have you again to talk about your other ventures, your real estate ventures, your work as a consultant, and also how you manage your realty company.
Great. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, man. Thank you so much.
Until next time.
Bye.
Bye.